Going on, guys? So, I was gonna film this episode, this very special episode. Oh, here we go. Hey, AJ, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, not too bad yourself, Matthew. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can. I really appreciate you taking the time out to join me for this episode, man.
And anytime, brother. What's going on? How is your Saturday going so far?
It's going pretty good, and as a matter of fact, I have to. Sorry, I got some questionnaires that I actually. Move, babies.
Hey, no problem.
So I had to actually run back up. Nope, nope. Had to run back upstairs because I had some questionnaires that I had written down that I want to be part of this questionnaire for you today.
Absolutely. Let's go for it. Yeah, take your time. Let's settle down.
Hey, what's going on, Noah? Yeah, man. So this is something that not only I, but a lot of my viewers have been wanting to see for a long time. Uh, not only so, obviously, we talk about Latoonie on this channel a lot, and the special thing about Latoonie, personally, so we talk about LGN a lot. We talk about Hasbro, lines that a lot of folks, grew up with when we were kids, right?
Yes.
So I grew up with Hasbro and I grew up with Galoobs. These lines are special to us because they're childhood, they're nostalgia, they're memories.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about, favorite toy lines, we talk about favorite, memories, Thundercats, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, things like that.
Yep.
When I think about Latoonie's only been around a couple years, and right now, in such a small increment of time, Latoonie is like right up there. Latoonie has such a small roster right now, but at the same time, they have made such a huge mark in such a small amount of time. To make that much of a dividend in such a small amount of time is incredible. And over as more and more time rises, I feel like Latoonie will easily surpass some of these other companies that are out there. So, like, I didn't have Remco when I was a kid, so
Yep.
I feel like Remco is probably like the number three, number four line for me. I feel like maybe Latoonie's tied for like maybe number five for me.
One
But
second. I think there is probably an orientation issue. Somebody is posting a question because I can see. How about now? Is this okay, everyone?
yep, correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
actually, I had it slotted there. So let me actually make sure. I think this is good. Thank you for
Are you
calling
good?
that out. I appreciate it. Sorry, go ahead, Matt. Didn't wanna lovely words. Didn't wanna break your motion there.
Are you
Go.
good? Yeah, so I was having that same issue the other day, and like it was coming up even on my side, but like folks were saying like I was coming up sideways on their end. I'm like, okay, so and sure enough, like when I altered the phone, like it actually evened out on both ends. So I'm like, okay. So
Yeah, no. Generally, I had it horizontally oriented when I'm doing the videos, but it's totally fine. I think in the live. So thank you for calling that out. Uh, I think yes. In response, I think we started off last year in July, right? And really, we got things more. The first figure I think came out very late in December, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. The first Macho Man, the pink and the white, the SummerSlam gear one. I think I've mentioned this too in a lot of previous podcasts when asked me. We only in I spent a little bit time in Pakistan from I would say 92 to 2000, right?
Mhm.
So that's probably more my core childhood, right? So we got our first exposure to Thundercats in like 94, 95, way beyond, right, when it was basically the show was closed out. So just imagine getting any figure back in the days, right? So the only figure I had was, I would say, there was a laser. I think it used to be called Laser Saber Thundercats. I think they came very late in the game, so you can actually, from Cat Slayer, it used to shoot out laser from its eyes, and then you can use the laser sabers to kind of play a kind of game together. So, but one thing I would say, LGN is probably one of the brand. Um, a lot of folks, if you go deeper into the line, they are probably one of the pioneers. So when you talk about, for example, the battlematic action, right? So the battlematic action, if individuals are not familiar with, I've got this line. Oh, one of my this is my if anybody asks me what's my favorite figure, the Panthro from LJN line, right? But if you see this guy right here, right? So this is a battlematic. That's where the word wrestlematic came out, right? So the battlematic, so when you will look at the, back in the days, Thundercats, so they will say battlematic action of the Thundercats XYZ. So that's why I named that, the smaller line wrestlematic series. Originally, actually the idea is still like one of these days, depending which characters we will do down the line, we probably might actually add that button so you can actually move, this guy up and down. That's why I keep saying, right? Obviously, we are a more everyone is kind of nearly 40, getting around 40s, right? So 40 is still a young number, by the way. So what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say is we no longer basically go and, have the arm go up and down. But that's where I kind of call the smaller line wrestlemetic line, kind of
Yeah.
originated from the LJN. And then obviously fast forward, I mean, there are so many things LJN did. When you talk about laser sabers, then Mattel took some clues of that and implemented those in. It's slipping my mind. The cowboy gear. What was his name? Marshall something. Very famous character. I think he had his toys as well made, so that got exposed there. And then obviously you got the Hulk Hogan. This is a new one, by the way. So the LJN. When the rubber wrestling figures came out, and then obviously Hasbro took over. So to your point, I think Hasbro is basically what I grew up with, right? Primarily, I think my father at that time, he was on a business trip in, I think, in New York, so he happened to get me a bulk load of Hasbros. So I think I never had a Warrior, so he got me Hulk Hogan. So I still have him right here. This is the Hasbro that I actually had as a kid. So it's
Yep.
almost broken down after where I think its torso comes out, but yeah, that's a guy. So always wanted that big one, the Everest one, or the talking one, and I think there was only two or three available in Pakistan at that time, right? So I never got it.
Yep.
But that's how basically it got started. But it's still I think there's a lot to do. A lot of folks ask me and actually point questions. Hey, why there are so many different color schemes of Macho Man. And or one of the thing I did wanted to point out, we just recently launched this candy thrower Macho Man, right? It's actually not like a Halloween was there, but that's something that actually Macho did. If you look at the promo, he literally takes two jars full of candies and throws over his head. And it's not that I'm trying to. First of all, every mold is very different. So when you take a figure up and down, that doesn't mean it's the same mold. I think,
Right.
Matt,
Right.
you have been recently getting exposed to how factories operate. So
Correct.
any single minute detail, if I want the hand to be open, slightly closed, it's new mold all the time. So now paint variations, I agree, but a candy thrower macho man is pretty much a brand new mold upwards, right? So majority of the whoever are doing this, I got this Logan Paul figure, right? So this is a split mold. I think I did a YouTube video on
Hmm.
this,
Yeah.
a week or so back. That's how majority of the figures are being constructed, because the factories just cannot do a single mold anymore. So we can call it either the technology taking a nozzle down in this specific case, because they could do it in the 80s, but they cannot for some odd reason do it right now. Where they can do one piece. It is possible, but very limited. You have to give up a lot on the way your hands are structured. Everything is structured, so that's why LJN was the way they were, right? So they were very specific poses that they could do at that time. So that's basically one of the example I did wanted to make sure and kind of point out as well, that when you look at the candy thrower Macho Man, it's a brand new mold because his whole hand orientation has changed, right? So you can't basically use the same mold. Now you could say, even if I want to remove the stars of the shoes, you have to still come up with a new mold for it. Again, it's a learning curve for us as well, for me personally as well. Like I said, I don't come from an action figure making background, right? So it's we're still learning every single day. We are going to be making figures in 2026, which will come up with accessories like wrestling belts. That's a learning curve by itself. How do you do it,
Absolutely.
right? So each of these small steps are one small step at a time, and you could have to basically go and actually do it. But go ahead, Matt. I think back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that you mentioned during your review is like kind of breaking down like the dusty roads with like the three different pieces with like
Yeah,
the arm separation and the body and all that. I'm like, I thought that was incredible. So the fact that you went out and kind of bought all the different modes to kind of show the separation, I thought was pretty awesome.
yes,
Um, you showed the Thundercats LJN, and I thought that was pretty awesome because this right here was actually one of those, wrestling figure because I didn't have a lot of, Galoobs and Hasbros.
yeah,
So, this right here was actually something I used as a wrestling figure, and this was actually one of my most played with wrestling figures when I was a kid.
yeah,
So, I think about Undertaker and Bret Hart from Hasbro Series 4, right?
yeah.
And I think about the Galoob, Sid Vicious, and I think about this right here. When people ask me what are my most utilized or played with action figures? These guys right here. Those are probably like my top 4 most utilized, played with figures. So, we
You know,
talked about
sorry,
Thundercats. I'm like,
you
"That's it."
you mentioned about Panthro, right? And
Uh-huh.
my affiliation with and here I'll give it away. I think one of the biggest reasons I wanted to sign Road Warriors was
Yeah.
uh, due to Panthro, you know, and I'm gonna probably come up a way to actually paint them like Panthro at some point, right? So
Nice.
and the reason I want to do that because when I look at Panthro in itself, his spikes coming out of his vest and him with his nunchucks. Imagine a road warrior like that, right? So so that was kind of the idea, right? Because when I looked at Panthro, I kind of saw road warriors, right? So I never had a Panthro. I so much wanted that figure growing up, right? So as a kid, because he was just very badass, right? When he's moving his nunchucks around. so, so it was very cool. It takes you right back. So and Thunder Tank, uh, it's always at my desk. It's right here, it's sitting just right behind me. So it's always
You know what's pretty awesome so far, during the conversation is you're actually hitting on a lot of, questions that I've already written down. So, when I go over these questions, you've already answered a lot of them already, which is
there.
pretty
Okay, okay.
fantastic.
We'll go with as they come. That's fine.
But, I do wanna hit up, some of these questions from the viewers, just to kinda see what the commentary is talking about. Fly the L is saying, "I grew up with LGN, when I was young. I could say I like how the Latoonie Macho Man, feels better than the classic LGN Big Rubber guys, probably better than the new Mattel LGNs." And I've always said from the very get-go, I definitely have always said that these are more LJN-esque than anything else out there. Uh, yes, big rubber guys out there, but the rubber, it's it's its own line. It's definitely a lot harder than the original LJN line. You look at like Our Lady Lux Leather, or you look at XOX Customs by Random Treasures. At the end of the day, they're custom figures. The rubber is sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's when you bend the legs back and forth, you bend the arms, you bend it back and forth enough times, it's gonna rip.
Yeah,
You take these figures, you can sit there, bend these back enough times, it's not gonna tear. Like, it's flexible enough where it's not a big rubber guy figure. It's you can sit there and bend it enough times where it's flexible, but it's not so poorly made where it's gonna tear, and I love that. And at the same time, it's color scheme, facial features. If you didn't grow up with this line and you came across this figure, you would never know that this wasn't an original figure, and I think that is absolutely amazing. So, I absolutely love how this bleeds in with the original line, and that's why from the very get-go, the very first time I ever bought one of these figures, I'm like, it's why I immediately started recommending this line to any of my viewers. And it's a different pose than what you get from any of the other lines. So it was always incredible to me. And the color scheme, right? It was different because everybody else was coming out with green trunks. Everyone else was coming out with pink trunks. Everyone else was coming out with orange trunks. It was different. So obviously during the reviews, people are like, okay, so what's up with the white and black or the gray and black? And then you gave me that reference that what was it? Survivor Series or was it SummerSlam '89?
SummerSlam '89, I think.
SummerSlam
SummerSlam.
'89, and Zeus and Macho Man against Beefcake and Hogan. I'm like, I love that reference. Anytime we have a reference to associate with the color scheme with these releases, it just makes it so much better. I love those Everest figures.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
that's the one that's coming in the Everest. Uh, the one with, I think, Zeus and Macho Man actually partnered up. Um, so yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, I think whether we talk about Mattel, big rubber guys, I'm a big rubber guys collector myself, like many of us, and very good product. I think at the end of the
absolutely,
day, I think each of the companies, not just big rubber guys. You talk about, there's so many other small company owners I've interacted with. I think I was just talking to the one who did some companies in UK are coming out with as well. Everyone is giving their best, and I think we're just lucky to be part of this era where we are getting so many companies giving us so many different flavors and designs, right? So, and I think I totally appreciate, I think, what they've done. I think there's a Macho Man Big Rubber guys are coming out with one for, I think, like a red and white tassel scheme that was pretty unique.
mm,
I think so. A lot of good stuff coming from, I would say, a lot of these companies. I think, which is really exciting. I think it's an exciting time to be in, and especially with Mattel now kick-starting their own line. So I think they should be able to hit all the talent that they have, especially doing any,
absolutely.
like, maybe hundreds of Hulk Hogan's, which all we want, right? And they, so absolutely. So why not? Right? Because they have the opportunity, they have obviously the means and licenses, right? So I think, especially the Warriors, we wanted to see. I think everyone wants a black card of Warrior, right? So I think it's an opportunity. They're gonna basically re-release them, and why not, right? I think I think it's everyone will cherish that moment because guess getting a loose Warrior right now is kind of out of reach. By having one mint on card for, what is it, $25-$30, right? I
Yeah.
think that's I would say pretty unique in year 2025, the way everything has been operating.
So we've talked about this before. Let me see here. Can I switch you around here? So how do you feel about this one? I mean, do you really think that's going to hurt that value of the original
I
'89
don't
run at all?
I didn't think so. I have I think as I mentioned, I think I'm only missing. I own almost every single LGN figure carded. Like almost entire series of every line LGN ever did. Right. Uh, I don't think it will deem the value. Now, when I bought these and I started collecting 2007, 8, way back, right? Maybe 15, 17 years ago. As little bit of salary used to increase, I used to start buying little bit, but they were very cheap back in the days. When I say, I don't think they were cheap back in the days. They used to be, let's see, picking up a mint on card Thundercat figure used to be like $30, $40, 2007, 8.
Yeah.
I remember getting a box Thunder Tank for like $55. I thought I way overpaid, right? I'm talking about 2008, right? But now fast forward, obviously, believe it or not, I was such a huge fan of Cats there. Um, uh, so I was able to get a brand new Cats player with factory box for like $300,
Ooh.
right? This is 2009,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't used to get stuff graded. That was my first time I got exposed to grading. So it was this big. I sent it off for grading, and I think it came out to be AFA 80 or something. But anyways, fast forward. What I'm trying to imply, I think you posed a question around: is it going to impact these prices? Absolutely not, because people who want to seek as collectors the original, they would want to go back to the original. I'll talk about the Superman first comic, right? You can make
Mhm.
as many reruns of it. the first comic is always the first comic,
Yes.
right? It's a release date that matters. When was it released? That's how the items are valued. Now I don't buy. I think right now, to be honest, I think if you look at eBay, I think collecting is becoming more of kind of like some people take it as good, short, quick around money grabbing scheme as well. Stuff
It's
that we are
customers.
buying,
Yep.
stuff we are buying today. For example, it doesn't matter. Like when I try to tell my sons about Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, yeah, they will. If I really have them sit with me and we can watch maybe an hour long of old wrestling, but they want to focus on the modern things, right? They want to
Yeah,
talk about Roblox, they want to talk about Ben 10, or whatever the new characters that they are affiliated with, right? So that's their collection probably things that will come into play. See, for us, probably the Playmates Turtles, which are being re-released, but for them, it's a new Ninja Turtles movie. That's kind of what they are growing up with, right? So they are more inclined to the way the new turtles look, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. I think, I don't think like cars or anything, any of these. Yeah, some cars specifically, we are talking about very limited run. Like I don't think these should be looked as an investment, in my opinion.
yeah, awesome. Uh, so I really like that opinion because I really hope that these don't drop in value because
No, I don't
I
think
mean
so.
I mean I'm
Uh,
I'm really
if
hoping that a lot of this stuff is it's going to cover me in retirement.
But and I'll tell you, Matthew, the reason is because, like I said, if you go, you have an example of Thundercats, right? Super
Mhm.
Seven has been making every sort of Thundercats, right? Possible,
Yeah,
right? I don't know.
yeah,
There has been 7, 8 Linos already out. It hasn't even put a single, not even a ding into the Thundercats LUN line, because people who want to, I'll just tell you this. There's one. I wouldn't say we are more of I would say internet friends. So the guy actually owns a prototype of what is that thing called? Anyway, it was a spaceship of Thundercats which could fit in all 6 Thundercats. So he has a prototype for it, right?
yeah.
And I think the value of it could be close to 100,000,
Oh, wow,
right? And there are people who are basically even willing to pay for it. But the point what I'm trying to make it is, whatever is from the 80s, it's not going to have any, I would say, impact, in my opinion, to the values of that.
that's nice. That's what I like to hear. So I do want to go through these comments. Cinnamon, what about Cinnamoroll? What's this person's name here? Uh, Cinnamoroll puppy. I just want to say hello and welcome to the show. Um, Russell says that our collections are amazing. Thank you so much. I wish I could see your collections in person. Um, yeah, man. I did a room collection just the other day. If you'd like to go back and take a look at that, that would be amazing. Hey, Ross, what's going on, buddy? Can you shout out my uncle? That, that's awesome. Um, Elle says, okay, here's Tony. Hey, what's going on, Tony? Yep. So got a couple of regulars in the chat here. Oh, so here is one of the first questions I wanted to ask you because I know you had like 45 minutes, and I definitely want to try and get as many of these questions in before that way we don't run past. So, and like I said, I think you answered a lot of these questions, but the first one I was asking, so we all grew up with wrestling action figures. Obviously, mine were the Hasbro's of the 1990s.
Hmm.
So, what were your biggest influences? Artistic designs, for example, wrestling lines that inspired you to get started with the Latoonie line. And oh, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, like I said, I think I gave a more detail. But long story short, when we started Latoonie, right? I think Latoonie, I wanted to kind of start it off it as more of a replica of Big Bad Toy Store, right?
Hmm.
So basically, you go kind of build relationship with various vendors, and basically have a kind of a one stop shopping, you know more, which will cover wrestling figures and all the lines available, right? Not just wrestling, whatever is possible and collectible. Now, problem with that is, if you look at the overall percentage what big bad toy stores does, right, the business is not even 1 or 2% of what overall toy market is. Majority is covered by Amazon, Walmart, Target, some of the big names, right? And then you will have the leftover, whatever is left over to big bad toy store, right? So, and then once, and now Mattel is coming up with their Mattel Creations line. So when we started that off, I was able to successfully build relationship with all these companies. But then, in order to get exposure or to traffic onto the site, right, they have to have some incentive, right? So I started reaching out to some of these vendors to give us a figure exclusive to Latoonie, right? And the cost of doing that was enormous, right? So, for
Yeah.
example, you easily are talking about, I'm just giving a ballpark number, anywhere between 75 to 200K, right?
Mm,
To get one figure, right? So it was a hefty investment upfront, right? And honestly, it was a very riskier investment as well. So, and at that time, I'm talking about last year, right? I think there was a lot of companies started coming out. Big Rubber guys started their thing. Then we had, I think, Zombie Sailor. Then some other, smaller companies as well. They had actually started out as well. So I think that's where after that kind of that whole idea about getting an exclusive figure fell on its face. I decided to seek out, hey, what can we do to secure some licenses, right? So that's when an opportunity presented for to Yunan, Macho Man, Andre, Ric Flair, some of these bigger names in the Inoki, right? Some of the big names in the industry at that time that were available, and yeah, we were able to kind of pouch on that. So I think getting licenses, I mentioned in earlier podcasts as well, it was an easier part, right? Because the biggest challenge is once you get this license, what are you going to do with it now? So
yeah.
like I said, I had zero experience. I didn't know anybody in the industry, right? And I give a lot of credit to Axe Bill, right? He kind of helped me out to actually get exposed to other wrestlers like Marty Jannetty, Tito Santana. So that was kind of a big shout out to Bill. I think he basically helped me out tremendously. He's a fabulous guy, great human being, and and then we basically crafting our path to that. And literally, I think once we went back to the drawing board, we were actually able to then figure out, how to actually put a action figure together, right? So the first ever Macho Man we made is this guy right here. Still have it. So this is the first
Yeah.
ever a prototype to came out of the factory. So as you can see, didn't had any stars. The stars were messy actually. Even it still had any production stars. So we went back and forth, fixing. It was. I think I went through like 10 samples, right,
Yeah.
just to figure out, and then we couldn't figure out how to mold these. There were so many things, right? Like in anything, right? If I put, like, I'm a programmer, that's what basically we do, right? And as software engineers, after 15 years in the industry, we can build software in our sleep. But if you ask me how to build an action figure all of a sudden I with zero exposure, it's always very difficult, right? So there's a huge learning curve to go through that, because making the figure, how do you make its design, what do you need, what is the thickness of the design of the card back will be. There's so many questions that need to be answered. But luckily enough, I would say, and with a lot of effort, I think we were able to finally get a product out in, I think, 4 to 5 months. So pretty, I think it was pretty unique. And then I would say we at least we have a template. I think then when we started off the Everest series, you kind of go back to square one again, right? Now you're
Yeah.
building a very different figure, which is, we're not talking yet, right? But it's 12-inch scale. See, every scale you have to come up with its own variations. The scaling is very different, right? So you have to kind of always adjust and go back to the drawing board how you're going to do these. The construction varies a lot also. So so it was, like I said, that's the long story short. I think then we said, okay, I think it's better we go start doing that. And I think we still want to maintain the relationships, because I still see Latoonie becoming world of collectibles, right? So meaning I want to bring other vendors as well into the
Absolutely.
picture. So I think maybe 2026, late 2026, we'll start re-adding, and kind of building upon the relationships that we have built with other companies as well.
And that is actually another question on the back page here. So I think a lot of us fans, the dream is to have our own wrestling action figure. Uh, how many of us actually get to have that dream? Uh, but I actually went out and I actually got my own wrestling action figure,
Yes.
and I thought, how amazing is that? But the idea was that I would have like a sort of Corporal Kirchner on the bottom. You know, basically the whole waist would be the width of a Corporal Kirchner, and the top half would be a Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
So obviously the specifications are or the specs is way off. So this was supposed to be the fighting pose. It's close enough, but I mean it's not my vision, right? But that's basically what the fighting pose was supposed to look. So it really was supposed to be the most perfect playable fighting figure ever.
Yes. So this
So
looks amazing. This looks amazing, by the way. I think when we talked earlier as well, I think this looks great. I think the key part is again going to be how do you want to scale it, right?
yeah,
I think I had mentioned about. I think I have it right here. I think where is that? I was just doing.
I mean, I know for like a first prototype, I mean it serves its purpose, but I mean I always say like, hey, I look at you as like a sort of inspiration because I'm like, hey, what Latoonie did was absolutely amazing, and like I love the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I love the Big Rubber Guy line, but was I inspired by them? And I don't think I really was. But I looked, I'm like, hey, what AJ was doing at with Latoonie, he was just a regular guy, just like like the rest of us. But Matt Cardona and Brian Myers and those guys, they're professional wrestlers, so they're in the business. I'm looking at you and I'm like, hey, this is a regular guy. He's not in the business. He had to learn this stuff on the go. So I'm like, that this guy is an inspiration. So and I'm obviously, speaking with my viewers and they obviously inspired me as well. So that gave me the kick in the butt that I needed to try and get this Maniac Right Wrestling, in the works to see, hey, could I actually get some figures released? And I've talked to you. Obviously, I've talked to a few other companies and customizers to see, hey, what do I need to do in order to get the process rolling to get some customs and some prototypes out there, go through a factory or through some customizers to get the molds made. What are the costs to get these made and whatnot? Is it going to happen? At one point, I felt like it could. But trying to go through some factories. I went to the factory that you recommended, Alibaba. I feel like every single time I try to go through them, they give me some excuse as to why they can't produce the figure. Something like the hair, like when they fill the rubber, like the hair wouldn't be filled in correctly, or like the glasses for like the New 80s Revolution figure was
Yeah.
sticking out too much, or or like I said, the hair on BBA was sticking out too far, or the beard was the hairs were spread too far apart or something. So I'm like, oh man, this is getting too much. Or they need
It's
the
not,
individual
yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you for your kind words.
food.
Yeah, but one thing before I answer your question was, I think you mentioned about the pose and scaling, right? Is this guy? This is the
Yep.
new Dusty Roads of LJN, of Mattel, right? And this is the Hulk Hogan, that the brand new Hulk Hogan, right? So if you look at this, I think I mentioned this in the video as well. Look at the size difference between the feet here. So it's really a dramatic. I mean, you're looking probably easily an inch difference right here, right? Inch or inch and a half. So that's how. Why, in my opinion, I think the scaling has to be precise. But again, nevertheless, I think there will be some things that will get missed. At the end of the day, it's not that expensive of an action figure. Now, to your point, Matt, the reasons we are trying to when we are trying to make these figures right here, right? This PVC rubber material, whatever, it's actually PVC. This is all PVC material, by the way. So when we are trying to make these PVC material figures, no other companies other than, I guess, Big Rubber Girl, Latoonie, and Mattel is doing it in China. I think so. So it's basically we're trying to replicate an 80s technology which no other companies in the world are trying to do. Most majority of the companies have moved on to vinyl, or ABS and all these other various material they want to do. So getting this in a softer tone, you have to compromise on a lot of things. So
Yeah.
that's why it does take a lot of time when you make a 3D file and we are trying to sample these. I think that's where there's going to be some anomalies when the figure actually is produced.
Yep. Does your Hogan have like a funky smell to it? Like
Yeah,
I would.
it will. I mean, it will just do that. Now, one of the other thing you will notice, Hogan, is it's very difficult to say, but there are mold lines. You see right here in his back. You might have to keep a closer look, but you will basically see the mold lines, and the reason for these mold lines are because when you do a PVC material software, it will always leave some marks. So there are at least three, four, five different areas where it has marks on the back, but that's common in every figure you go and check.
Because kind of reading off of Facebook, people were saying like this was sort of like a more of a plastic feel, and that there was no smell to it. But like I find it to have a very distinctive smell, and it feels rubbery to me, and I don't feel like much of a plastic feel to it.
No, no,
So
no, no. It's an outstanding figure. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, it's not. I think I already answered this question. The reason it's not software, because you can get the same softness even as LJN is, but you will compromise on the color. Your paint is not gonna persist for a longer period of time.
but uh but I think Mattel did a really awesome job with this. I mean, like I said, I've got a couple of these where the skin actually is this sort of darker tan,
Yeah,
but I decided to open up the one that's a lighter shade. But I mean, I think the only ones I'm really going to open are probably the Hogan and probably the Logan Paul because I have a couple extras of those. But
yeah. I think I should be. I'll probably do a open the Logan Paul. I like that figure. I think I mentioned this as well. Again, I don't really follow too much of the latest programs other than the major ones, but I think the Logan Paul figure is it's pretty good. It's a well made figure.
mm, so I'm actually surprised we didn't get through all these questions, but like I said, I think you answered a lot of these. But if you ever decide that you'd like to be part of come on the show again, I mean, like I said, it's a open door for you anytime that you'd like to come on. There is one question in particular I'd like to ask you about. So there, let me see which one was it. Now this one, I pretty much know the answer because we've talked about this before, but I think it's a fun one to talk about because it mostly centers around this particular figure. And it's what role does culture or background play in your work? Because I know that you've said that this one and the Batman Macho Man is in regard to your son. That he specifically requested the Mister Freeze and Batman Macho Man figures. So I was hoping that you
Yeah.
could talk a little bit more about those
Yes.
particular
Yes,
pieces.
this specific one was actually my son requested it. He said, "Can you paint him in blue? I don't like him in this look." This is when he saw this first. He said, "Can you make him in blue?" So that's when we actually went out and actually started thinking idea what could be done. Did Macho Man ever wore a blue color, right? In his and he didn't really had any, I would say, full blue color attire. So then as I mentioned as well, I grew up Batman animated series. I had luckily, my father was gracious enough. He did brought, when he came from his US trip to Pakistan, he did brought bunch of Batmans, right, in animated. And you will remember it was Lightning Strike Batman, regular Batman, then you have antifreeze Batman, you name it, right? So that's where I think, I did had mentioned as well. So if you look at the Silverhawks cartoon, they were very metallic, right? They had those metallic figures that Kenner actually made. So I had one like right here. So this is the one. Bluegrass was one of my favorite growing up, right?
Cool.
So this is Bluegrass from Silverhawks.
Oh, nice.
So if you look at the blue color he's wearing, right? So it's more of a lighter shade, but we kind of wanted to give kind of a similar styling. And the original idea was, actually we missed it, was to put Macho Man right here on his chest, right? Like M, and kind of give him that logo. So you can't probably see his logo here. It's actually hidden behind his scarf. But he
Right.
had that logo. So that's how that idea came about. And now, actually, when we painted him, then we're like, okay, we're going to make his glasses red color with a yellow border, so kind of the laser is popping out. That kind of gave him a crossover, more like X Men as well, like the Cyclops figure. But that really was the idea, to come up with. No, the Batman, the black one, that what we were doing was, again, the idea was, we only made 100 of these, and I think it's sold out already. So it did took some time for it to finally sell out, because again, people have not seen these things, right?
Yeah.
They are not accustomed of these things. When we talk about elegant wrestling figure, they want to see them in the same line. So I wanted to go a little bit out of the box. If you go look at the first ever flare we introduced, remember? That was, I have it right here. Hold on, I have to find him. Where is this guy? Oh, there it is. This guy. I don't know if anybody remembers seeing that one. So it was very unique, very unique. I still have it. Maybe we might do him, one of these days as well. We'll probably bring him back. But the idea was, again, to kind of, do something a little bit unique.
Yeah.
I think it was a question, when is the Batman Macho going up for order? Very
Yeah.
soon. You know, Actually, funny thing is, talking about the Batman one. Every time I show him that, the Batman, he asks, "Who made this, Dad?" So I was like, "He's 3 years old." So he's like, "Who made this? Did China made this too?" I was like, "Yes, China made this too." So he's been asking me. He's very excited. So really, the idea is to give uh, our kids, see, they might not be familiar with the pink. Maybe they might like the blue one, right? So you want to share some of these with other kids as well, because they're the one who probably might be able to carry forward this collection and blend it in their own collection down the road, right? See, we are 40 today, 10 years, 15 years, don't know how many years we're going to live. Eventually, when you turn 50, 60, priorities start changing very quick, dramatically, right? So I think while we have the license, I want to also kind of give an opportunity for people who might be able to relate to it. See, majority of the buyers, I did actually did a quick survey, and I did ask majority of the buyers, why did you actually buy this blue one? Out of all the Macho Man, the pink, the white, the yellow, why you only bought the blue one, right? And the answer I got, for I think 60%, was because I can relate to him better, right? So
For me personally, I just like it because it was an oddball. It was out of the ordinary. It's not something that you came across every day. Like I
uh,
said, every single Macho Man you see is a purple trunks Macho Man, a pink trunks, a green trunks, a yellow trunks even. So it's a different. It's something that you don't see every day. It's like I
I,
said, it's a out of the box version.
I think
So
in packaging this looks pretty good. If you were to ask my opinion, not being biased, but I think this looks the best of all. In my, in packaging, I think this looks pretty good.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, absolutely in package on card, it's fantastic. I mean, the graphics on the back, that's amazing. So the little cartoon on the back is awesome. I mean, when I look at something like Inoki I mean, how many times do you see an LJN with actual movable pieces? I mean, it's not something with adjustable ankles and knees and all that. But what do I say with like Hasbro's up and down arms? That's all you need, right? And having that up and down like Hasbro with an LJN, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think so let me actually answer. I think there was a question, when is Batman going up for pre-order? The black one probably in January, I think, because I'm still working on its artwork. We are gonna be the next Macho Man. Will be the toy commercial Macho Man, which will be an in-stock drop. So, so we are actually producing that up right now. So it will be produced in stock and ready to ship right away. So it won't be a pre-order. So that's our kind of core focus right now. So next week we're gonna start shipping out the Jungle Macho Man. You talk about the artwork inspiration, right? So the artwork inspiration came from, there is a very famous picture. Now there used to be a sultan, right? If you know Taj Mahal, right, in India. So the name of that sultan was Tipu Sultan, right? And I'm just giving a background story. And if you look up Tipu Sultan, or if you go to UK, if you ever been to UK, if you go to maybe Buckingham Palace or one of the museums, Tipu Sultan was very, recognized as a formidable kind of workforce, by the English army back in the days, right? I'm talking about 1870s, 80s.
Yeah,
So, so he was called the Tiger of India, or the Mysore, or the Tiger of India. That particular individual. So, so when there is a very famous picture of Tipu Sultan actually fighting a tiger, right? So if you go Google it up, you will basically find him. So that's where the inspiration came about. Hey, Macho Man did wear this costume on Saturday Night Main Event, being a Tarzan. And Tarzan, if you see any of the Tarzan movies, has all the animals in the world, following him, right? So I was like, why not? Let's see, put Macho Man in this pose fighting him. So I'm really excited when people see this hand. The packaging and the Macho Man standing in his Saturday Night Main Event Halloween gear. I think it looks pretty good. But again, as I always say, I'd like to hear feedback once you all will receive it. I think it will look pretty amazing. But that's how it basically came about. The design of that particular poster. So we will bringing in some creativity to these as well, because that's an opportunity for us to kind of see these characters who were so close to us. See, the one of the other thing, Matt, I also wanted to, when you talk about the blue Macho Man, the black Macho Man, the one we are doing now, what did these guys meant to us? We always looked at these guys as superheroes,
true.
whether you talk about Hulk Hogan or any sports era. If you talk about like, I was a big Michael Jordan fan. I am a cricket follower, so we had our own, the Imran Khan. He was the prime minister of Pakistan. The ex prime minister. He used to be a big cricket player. He won Pakistan the World Cup. So, or Maradona in soccer. We used to think these are like gods on earth, right? Basically, these are like superheroes. They can do anything. They can't do anything wrong, whether that's taking your vitamins or whatever it is, right? That's really the idea. When we're facing this Macho Man, we are trying to give that impression of a superhero, right? So that's really the intention was, because that's how we perceive them and continue to perceive them. So the candy Macho Man is actually from so I'll just take a minute here to talk about that. The candy Macho Man is actually from an actual Macho Man promo. So for those of you who don't know, I think placed an audio of that in my Instagram post, that the Macho Man actually had two jars full of candies, and he threw those candies basically on his head. So the candy Macho Man will actually feature Macho Man has candy stuck on his head, because if you look at the promo very closely, when he threw the candies on his head, few of the candies actually were left on his head.
Mm.
So he will have actual painted candies stuck on his head. So hopefully people will appreciate that once they will see that specific figure again. Very, I think it's unique idea, I think, but it will kind of help, you know yeah, I mean, are they deep cuts? 100% these are deep cuts, but uh, how many pink, green, or other Macho Men we all want? So I think everybody has done a pretty good job. And I say every company has done a pretty good job. Everyone puts their best foot forward to the product they are producing. I appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure everyone appreciates that. So I think we have to kind of go start thinking a little out of the box and bring these in, because at the end of the day, I was just doing, I think, I asked this question to somebody. I think there were 145 Microman figures that have been produced to this date. Maybe I might have butchered the number, but I
Oh wow.
think so it means we have probably covered almost all these variations, right? Of Macho Man that probably might exist. So the Jungle Macho Man coming and the Candy Macho Man coming out as unique out of all those variations. I think that's it's. I think I'll take that.
I mean, I've done a short video recently, or probably like 5 short videos. So, and I probably covered about I probably got about 30 of them. So, and I know I'm missing like a million of them. So, when you say about 145 or so, I believe it. I,
Yeah,
I'm
between all the lines, all variations,
that makes.
all scales, also all scales. I think
Oh yeah, definitely.
the small scale, big scale, Tonka figures, the pillows, who names it, right? I think, like
Tonka,
I
I forget those.
said,
When I was
so
doing when I was doing the
that's
review of all of my Macho Mans, I forgot about the wrestling buddy. That one I didn't include in that video.
Uh, okay. I think there was also a question: can we do a chart similar to Collect Major? I'm gonna do that. In fact, I think Monday or Tuesday next week we will add an in stock, basically tab on the website. So whatever is in stock, people can basically look at what's in stock. Uh, I've been probably, and I'll admit myself, very lazy when it comes down to picture taking, this taking. I should do a better job, but like I said, I do this whole Latoonie is just being done in love up until this point, right? So but I think I should probably buckle up a little on these things.
So I'm just wondering, uh, during the process of manufacturing, designing process of all your figures, is there anything that you've scrapped? Any ideas that you wish that you've kept during the planning process? Any characters, any designs, any figures that you wish you would have kept?
Oh, you're talking about the prototypes?
Yes.
Yeah. So far, I don't. We have not sold any prototype. So as of right now, all the prototypes are still with me, every single one of them, right?
Cool.
I think the only one I gave out was one to you. I think that's the one I had sent out, for the Inoki. I think that's a
Right.
pre-production sample. Other than that, there hasn't been any prototype that has been sent out to anyone, or basically even placed on sale. Um, you know uh, but I think at the end of the day, um, you know we the reason I want to see, because I like to go and weigh in what were the shortcomings of, see, every release there will be things you might have missed or could
Yeah.
have done better, right? And it applies to all products, right? Whether you talk about an iPhone release, to Samsung phone release, to Android phone release, whatever it is, right? Every product, there will be positive things and there will be negative things, right? So we work, basically take that, whatever we have done, what could we have done better. I think there were few things that we could have actually done even better in in Everest series, as an example, right? So we're
Yeah.
trying to cover those shortcomings in the Legion of Doom. But one thing I didn't realize when we started Everest series was how time consuming it is to make these big figures for the
Yeah.
factory, right? I thought they will be able to knock it out in 30, 40 days. I'm talking about production days, but a one Everest figure end to end can easily take them 70 to 90 days, right?
Mm.
So because it's like, the bigger the figure, the spikes of the Road Warriors figures, painting them, putting them together, boxing them, it's very difficult. So are you planning on anything new on the Everest series working on with movement? Yes, so the next Everest series is going to be Demolition. I'm already working on that. So, but I won't release the demo. I think the Demolition, we are about to sample those. So as soon as sample those, we will preview them probably sometime in December.
Cool.
They're kind of already the sam. We are about to start sample maybe next week. I think we will start sampling. So I should have those done in November. The samples should be done. So we'll preview them in December, but we still have to deliver 5 Everest figures. The two golden Legion of Doom figures, the two red ones are being produced right now. The Everest White Macho Man is going to start production next week,
They
and
still
that's
got
gonna
the Gold Legion of Doom as well, or
gold. See, that's what I was getting to, right? The way factories use their machines as well, they cannot. They can produce a body, but painting has to be done one at a time.
gotcha.
Right. So because it's not that they're just working for me either, right? They have other orders to fulfill as well, right? So that's where I think I want to, when I release the demolition, I'll probably release one character at a time. It's not that
Right.
eventually, like we did for the LJN Giant series, right? We did Axe first, and then we brought in Smash, right? Because when you do two, it becomes very difficult for them to manage, and even for us to manage also, right?
Yeah.
So we will both get both of them, but I think we want to pace it out because I also want to give everyone a breathing room as well, right?
Yeah.
With all the stuff that keeps popping out from various companies, including Mattel, because with Mattel line, I think we want to also allow people to catch up to the Mattel LJN line, right? Along with whoever Ultimates Elite. To be honest, I used to be a Legends WWE Legends collector. I have lost track now. Like I don't even know what legends get released. I don't even know what ultimates get released
Mm,
anymore because it's so many they come out. There's an Amazon one, then there is a ringside exclusive one, then there is this one. It becomes very very difficult, right, for one to keep up with all of these things.
yeah.
And if you do the math, let's be very honest. There's only so much you can spend on these things, right?
Right.
We all obviously have our main bills to pay. We all have. So I want to make sure I'll start pacing these things out a little bit more. I think as an organization, even if it takes me to do all these figures in 5 years now, that's fine. As long as we are living and breathing, I think we can achieve some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I was asking you about the scrapped ideas, the scrap plans, like one of the Waddy Devil, for example, that I was creating, the original idea was like it was like a right hand Greg Valentine instead of the left hand up with with the left hand SD Jones choke slam, and because I wanted them carded, which it wasn't really a card. It was like one of those squared bubbles. So it was supposed to be like this, but the that was like the original prototype like this, right? But
Yeah.
what I got was something like this. It was a really crappy design, and when I got it in, I mean, I got a new figure in, so I was like ecstatic about it. But after getting it in, talking about it a few times, the more and more I held it, the more and more I talked about it, I became more and more disappointed with it over time. So like I eventually got I'm not frustrated. Like I still like the figure, but like I was expecting more. So it wasn't my vision. So that's what I'm disappointed with. It wasn't the vision I originally planned. So I like the figure, but it wasn't what I wanted originally. So uh I would have wanted that original scrap plan. So I was wondering if like, hey, maybe you had a Hulk Hogan plan that you wanted that you couldn't release or something like that. And I'm like, that would be pretty awesome. Or hey, maybe you had a Macho Man that you wanted to release that maybe it came in this pose
Yeah.
or
So I'll show you. It's at some point. So this is our first attempt of making a small Andre. This is an unproduced figure. We haven't shown this yet, right? So this is a small Andre you can see right here.
yeah,
It was kind of so compared to this. Now I don't have the actual one, which the small one we are producing right now, but
yeah,
this is the first one. We decided to keep the same style pose, kind of similar to how his 10-inch one we did. but
Yeah.
I think it just wasn't working out. So I eventually we decided to go with the hands look, because I think we this is more of a toonish look to Andre, in the Hasbro scale. So we wanted it to fit right there. So we kind of changed it up a little. So this is kind of one of those examples where an idea was scraped. We did decided to do it, but actually this is the first time I am ever even showing this. Nobody has actually even seen this one.
Now that
So,
I really like that figure. I like the legs because it's like nice thick legs and whatnot.
yeah.
Great fighting pose. So that is an awesome looking figure right there. Um,
Yeah, and I think one of the shortcomings of this one was, you can see right here, I think the face needed to be scaled up a little. So we might
mm,
actually bring in Andre. Now we have obviously done the modifications we need to do, but now we're gonna bring this Andre maybe down the road in a smaller, kind of this kind of specific pose, right?
right.
So so that was kind of the idea. Now, then this particular Andre right here, we built this last year. This was actually built. Um, this was actually built in before even the first Macho Man. So this was technically our first figure, sampled along with Macho Man. But and the reason we kind of held on to that so long, because we wanted to see how the people will react. So this one now will feature in 8.5 inch scale. Um, so this will come up. So it will be pretty unique. So let me ask. I think there were a couple of questions. Um, uh, no, no, no. Latoonie cannot take over. I don't think Latoonie. So right now, I am basically. I If you're familiar with it, I basically run a practice for Salesforce. If you guys are familiar with so Salesforce, if you know Documentum, so basically that's my niche. Basically, I'm by profession I'm a software architect, right? So that's what we do: design, softwares in Azure, AWS, you name it. That's our niche, right? So we use the same skill set. I still say Latoonie is an IT company which produces figures, so I don't take it as a toy making company, because you need technical skills to be able to do these things. Whether that's talking about 3D design, whether that's talking about using Adobe Illustrator to do your cardbacks design, all these are requiring technical skills to be able to do that. So that's how it's taken that. So right now, tech is tech. That's always gonna be the first love. And I think, is that bulk man? I don't know which one is that. I think there was a question.
Let me see. Was that? Is that Bulkman? I think they're probably talking about that Andre the Giant figure.
Oh, the under the giant. Okay, you change the size of Toon Stars, so they will be like the giants. Yes, I think, actually, I went back with Pete, who's the main designer behind the Toon Stars, and I think, we didn't want to. Actually, the reason I wanted to actually make Toon Stars as 5.5 inch scale, so they can go along with WWE Superstars Mattel figures. But then, I think, because right now LGN came out with their own line, I thought it made sense for the Toon Stars to continue with the 8 inch scale. So basically that's how it decided. So right now the Toon Stars will be 8 inch. I don't have a Toon Star here right now. I think all of these are getting sampled out, so hopefully we'll get them soon. And Legion of Doom, yes, Legion of Doom, and the Demolition will eventually come in WrestleMatic series. Um, I think, probably late next year, because I think, and the Giant series as well. So Giant Demolition, we already did that. So I think we're gonna do a couple of variations of Demolition. Now we might actually. It all depends on Inoki, to be honest. Oh yeah, there you go, Hulk Hogan. One weird thing about this poster was, is I thought Hulk Hogan is wearing an earring. Is that?
Uh,
I never thought Hulk Hogan wore an earring.
I can't tell. I mean, it does kind of look like it, but it's so minuscule. I just wanted to take a look at that, but
I don't know. Uh, to answer your question, so the reason I'm thinking if Inoki if Inoki articulation does well and audience like it, uh, I would like to do a Legion of Doom in Elgin style in articulated form, because I think I think it's an error. I don't. It's 100% an earring. It's like the genie earring. He's actually wearing. So I don't know. I think if Inoki does well, I think it will be sweet to actually make articulated Legion of Dooms. I think that will be unique if it's possible.
Mirroring in the original poster as well.
Thank you, Rick. Hope you're doing great.
Yeah, so the only thing I saw that they changed in this is they changed it from a green belt to the black belt. But other than that,
So the earring is still there, even in the old one.
yeah, even in the original, they had an earring in the original,
Oh, okay.
but they got rid of the at the Coliseum in the new poster. And
Yeah, Inoki, believe it or not, I have, I think it's obviously, Inoki is kind of a little bit more of a 70s star, but I think the guy has had a lot of presence. He was actually, obviously Hulk Hogan, first ever championship was won in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me right. Andre the Giant, same thing. So all these guys are pretty much from the same era. So I think getting Inoki was a dream come true, and yeah, he's almost home now. I think he's 4 to 6 weeks away from landing in everyone's hands.
very famous, very popular. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Inoki, we'll have couple of variations of Inoki in next year. We already started working on that, so I think people will like it. Once it starts coming in. Yeah, 2026 is going to be busy. I think first up is we got to get you the four WrestleMatic Andres, which are being molded right now. So there's going to be four of them. One is a surprise drop, so it will be an in stock drop of that, and the three are already on the website. So that's that. I think once those four are out, I think there's gonna be an in-stock drop of two figures. One is a toy commercial Macho Man, and then there's gonna be one for. I probably should wait on that. I think we'll just we'll just drop it. I think once
I
people.
think a lot of us are actually super excited about that commercial Macho Man. Um,
Yes.
that one's been we've been thinking about that one for last couple months or last few months for that since you put out that Instagram post, we've all been waiting on that one. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, that leads me up to my next question. In fact, I think you might want to put a halt to this question, and you can pretty much bypass this question if you want. But are there any upcoming collaborations or drops that you wanna tease in the meantime?
I'm working with one company who are actually we are very in preliminary talks right now, right? So I'm working with one company right now who are also making figures, right? Not in 8-inch scale. I think we LJN and Big Rubber Guy are the only one who does a giant series scale. So we are in talks with the company, but very early right now, very premature at this point. It's a giant, yes. The toy commercial Macho Man will be an 8-inch. Somewhere down the road, maybe this year, so not this year, next year, we'll do the WrestleMatic, sorry, the Everest Macho Man as well.
So I see Elle was talking about Jim Cornette, and that's what I think we gotta see. I gotta see some kind of collaboration with guys like Jim Cornette because that's what nobody's coming out with. Nobody's coming out with those awesome manager types. Nobody's coming out with any of those ring announcers or commentators. You're not seeing the Jim Cornettes. You're not seeing the Brother Loves. You're not seeing the Gorilla Monsoons. You're not seeing the Howard Finkles. Uh, I would really like to see an updated Mean Gene Okerlund. Maybe a Sherry Martel, maybe a new Elizabeth even. But
But those are all very Elizabeth. I have no idea, because who has the trust? Who wants the trust, if any? Right?
Yeah.
Mean Gene is probably gettable. Have to find all these. See, the thing is, the biggest edge, you know, obviously not taking anything away by big rubber guys, but they are in the industry, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like if somebody's if I ask somebody to go, let's start developing in Salesforce. I know the industry, so I know how to tap into that industry, right?
Right.
um, See, for me, what I mentioned, if it wasn't for Bill, hey, I would not have been able to sign majority of the other guys we're gonna do this year, right? Again, I think you kind of need to know, and like I said, for me, it's not like one thing I say when I initially said I thought, oh, let me get this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Fast forward, almost we started about July last year. It's almost nearing a year and a half now. I'm like, okay, but there's already so much to do in Andre, Inoki, Flair, right? I can just do even if you focus on these and also release other guys, Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. There's like so much to do even in these capacity,
Yep.
right? So honestly, if I'm already don't have any figure I can do till 2027 now. The figures that are coming are planned in 2026. We already have we have a full basically schedule to complete in 2026. Even if I sign a guy right now, I'm talking about late 2026, if I can even start focusing on that project, right? So because, and that's why when I say Macho Man, when I'm building these Macho Man, I want to make sure I almost hit everything of Macho Man now, right? So that's kind of the vision. Similarly for Road Warriors, we are starting out with the Everest series because I just wanted to get it over with, because make the bigger one first, and because that's the most missing one, right? There has been 8 inch big rubber guys. I think did 2 3 variations of the Road Warriors. There has been 4.5-inch scale Road Warriors coming as well. I think Zombies doing that, right? So there's already a place missing, but nobody's doing the big ones, right? So I think we
Yeah.
start off with big, and then we will bring it in the. But I want to do an articulated Road Warrior and Legion of Doom figure, right? In the
Big
same
open.
style, but we want to do it in. Hey, greetings from New Zealand. I think if you're a cricket follower,
Let's go.
Glenn, I think England, you guys get beat England 3-0, right? So for those who are cricket followers, so so that's what I'm trying to imply, Matt. Is articulation is I'm like I said, I'm a little. If you ask me, I'm a little nervous about Inoki,
Mhm.
or how people will take it, right? Because whenever you try to make a change, right, a change is not always appreciated, right? It always comes with a backlash, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're doing a change in technology. You could ask and you change from an iPhone 16 to 17. You will always see there's a change coming. So we always have to see how these are gonna coming through. But yeah, I think the articulation will be the key. And I think there was one of the individuals made a comment. Why is Macho Man holding his Spectre right up here? And I think I did mention this in the YouTube video as well. If everyone has a likeness of Inoki, I can just take that Macho Man, like this guy right here, right? Look, he's already wearing kind of his robe. If you add articulation here, what difference does it make? Right? You can move a specter up, down, whatever you need to do, and then we are done with it, right? There's no question about the pose then. So it's not the original. Well, anytime you make a new product, it's not the original. Mattel Hulk Hogan is not the original, right? So we have to use the word original. We have to see in what context we are using that specific word. So it will be different. I think, like I said, I think once you start seeing those again, this is one of those things we will have to see once they come about. But I think if articulation does well, I think. By the way, the next flare, I think people will like it. I think once I deliver this, this promo flare,
Yeah.
I think once that is delivered, I think I just started working on the third flare figure yesterday. So I think that nobody has ever done something like that. So I think it will be unique.
with the Black Pants flare with the Moneywood. I've already
No,
posted that.
that one is also unique. But what I'm saying, the new flair, I think I'm working on. I
Oh,
think,
gotcha.
yeah. So I think that will be extremely unique. I think we'll see. Now, could it be too unique? Possible, but we'll see.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Asked all those questions. Oh, so I pretty much asked all these questions. And were there any challenges early on that almost made you stop or rethink everything? I think we
See,
yeah,
I'll tell you this. When the first when we first announced Macho Man, right?
yes,
Uh, one thing I've always learned is none of these things come easy, right?
absolutely.
Whenever you're starting a company, or anything, right? If even if you're a fresh graduate, you're trying to look for a first job. There's always gonna be some backlash, something somewhere, right? Um, I think what I've always done is when you are being appreciated, there's also gonna be something pulling you back, right? So at the end of the day, I think what I've always learned is keep your focus, right? Keep your focus and just keep doing. And if you think you have a belief in your vision, just keep following that, right? Like I said, if I would have listened, I would have not produced a Blue Macho Man, right? That's an example, right? So similarly, the Candy Macho Man is the same thing, right? It's a deep cut, but it's a cut. It's if you were a cult follower of wrestling back in the days, right? You would remember these promos every time, and imagine on we had a very outstanding Halloween day yesterday with all the pre-order for the Candy Macho Man. So it means there is a belief, right? So whenever Halloween will come out now, or whenever there is, you will probably see Jungle Macho Man popping up and whatever people search. Somebody was sharing the Saturday Night Main Event Macho Man pictures yesterday in one of the groups, right? So it means they could relate to it, right? So I think we will basically start seeing that. I think there was a question: will we see Toonstar's figure in the WrestleMatic series? Possible. The thing is, the more figures you keep adding, the more everything adds up. But let's give it some. I would say let's first have Toonstars get into people's hand. I think the first one should be, which is not announced yet. The first one will be in individuals' hand in December or January. Uh, so I think so. Once you will start receiving it, we'll see. What kind of response we get from it, and then we can always scale things up and down with different things. But if it does well, I think then there's a lot of things planned for the Toon Stars down the road.
You know what's kind of funny about that? I was actually maybe I'm in the minority here, but I actually kind of really like the 5.5 inch design of the Toon Stars. But I know a lot of people were more interested in LJN 8 inch size for the Toon Stars, and that's actually one of my questions here. Like, do you design with your audience in mind or purely from your own vision? Now, your vision said, "Hey, I'm designing these Toon Stars based on 5.5 inch because I'm creating these 4 inch Hasbro's. I'm creating these 8 inch LJNs. Now I want to create these 5.5 inch Toon Stars line. I also got these 12 inch Everest designs.
Yeah,
Well, now your fan base is coming out and saying, no, we don't want these Toon Stars in 5.5 inch. We want them in 8 inch LGNs. So based on what the fans wanted, you altered the design to make them 8 inches. And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's what the fans want. I'll get them at 8 inches," but, like, I actually thought that the, 5.5 inches were the right size for those particular figures because they were a different, line, they were cartoony, they were the Hogan cartoon. I
yeah,
thought 5.5 inch was the right size because they were different. They weren't necessarily LJN bendies, so I thought they were to me, they were a completely different line, so they actually worked for 5.5 inches. So,
So
I
this is
thought that was perfect size for them.
this is the first figure I did, uh, before even the Macho Man, you know.
Yeah,
So and then obviously this is not possible because I don't have Hulk Hogan's license, right?
yeah,
So but this is the one of the figure, this was my first exposure to how sampling works, right? So again, this is one of the awesome, really cool action figure that we made. Honestly, if we produce this, I mean, we cannot produce it. Mattel eventually does this, I think this will go well. Now this is this is an 8-inch figure. So this one, when we basically produced this, I think the idea was to the reason I went with the 5.5-inch scale, and then we changed it was Matthew was primarily one of the reason was I think like I said, where is the market trending towards,
right.
right? So right now with Mattel LGN coming out, big rubber guys, plus we are making our line as well. um, we got these three things basically, so that's where majority of the collectors are leaning towards. Now there is also the collectors who collect superstars as well, right? And you're right, my initial idea was, okay, you know what, these are toons, we want to do more like He-Man. But if you remember, these guys were, I forgot, maybe 6.5 or 7 inches, the Thundercats,
Yeah,
right? So these were not scaled to He-Man style either, right? And neither was GI Joe's. GI Joe's were what, 3.75, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So these were basically again different who could exist as well. So I think scaling them to 8-inch kind of gives those collectors an opportunity that if they want to, let's see, have an Andre, the shown with the Toon Andre, then they can go both hand in hand, right?
yeah,
Or for example, an Andre Hulk Hogan, Toon Hulk Hogan, or Toon Macho Man to Toon Flair to whatever it is, right? So they can then go hand in hand. So that was kind of the idea, I think, was behind that. So that's where I think we initially did a cycle change. We were like, okay, I think while the 5.5-inch makes sense, but I think we might probably be better off doing an 8-inch. Scale them to those, and if you're a Macho Man fan, I think then you will be able to display them as is. So I think it's more where the market is heading and trending towards as well. I think right now majority of it, because you don't know, as I mentioned, Hulk Hogan, you could potentially easily see maybe six Hulk Hogan's coming on the LGN next year,
yeah,
right? And people are gonna buy it, and it makes sense as well because he's a top star
yep,
collector. See who has the money, not a 23-year-old right now, right? The 22, 23-year old are still trying to get accustomed to their surroundings. They have things to do, loan payoff, this payoff, XYZ. When you go into more 40s, 50s, right, you're well established and you are the ones who are going off eBay buying seven, $800,000 figures, right? So that's basically, I think, Hulk Hogan right now, you could easily see six Warriors, six Hulk Hogans, right? And all of them will sell out, right? So I think that's the really was the idea behind it.
absolutely. Gotcha. All right, so that was the last of my questions, and it looks like we actually went about quite as long as you originally planned, man.
No
So
problem. Well,
I know that you had plans, and man, AJ, this has been amazing, buddy. Uh, I really
appreciate
love having you on, and shoot, like I didn't want to take keep you this long, buddy, but
it. No, it's okay. I
like
think
I
once we thank you everyone. Once you start talking, my wife even complains. Once you start talking, you can't stop talking, right? So it's and I don't know
but
about Jan. Need to
but like
start like you
you
know
are you're always welcome on the show, man. I definitely want to reach out to you and see if you're ever interested coming back on. Uh,
absolutely.
so, um, but like I said, we're about twice as long as we originally planned, and that was the last of my questions. I want to look at the comments just to make sure anybody else has any follow up questions for you, because I just don't want to cut the viewers off for you. And but I mean, I have, unless you have any questions for the viewers or questions of me or anything like that. Uh,
I think you mentioned about Jim Cornette. I think, like I said, I've listened to Jim Cornette's podcast every now and then, occasionally. Love it. He's always hilarious. But he's, I'm not honestly reached out to him either. But he already has his own wrestling line, if I'm not mistaken. If he, yeah, if
yes.
he goes, so he's quite well familiar, and again, I've not had any interaction with him, just based on what I have heard him say on his YouTube shows and all that. Is I think he just wants to do things independently. So I never actually honestly reached out to him, but it will be. It will be, I would say, another dream come true. He has so many things you could do with Jim Cornette. So I might reach out to him maybe next year. Let's see how it goes, but we'll see. But I think I'm actually personally, I think he has one of those figure I think on sale right now, so I probably might grab it. So if you guys are looking for him, I think he had those on sale, so might as well pouch one while they're on sale.
Cool. The one thing I do want to say, the one thing that me doing, my figures, reaching out to Bone Breaking Action, reaching out to the New 80s Revolution. The reason why I wanted to collaborate with those guys is because no licensing, right? It's not wrestlers, it's the YouTubers who cover wrestling. I thought that was a brilliant concept that nobody else was doing, right?
Yep.
So it was completely different. It was completely unique, and there's just so many followers, so many viewers, so many people out there that watch these channels that it was a niche idea, and I'm like, okay, how can we bring this to light? And so many of my viewers have reached out to me like, dude, if you make this happen, we'll buy your figures. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, that's what's really inspired me to, watching your videos, watching, picking up your figures, listening to my viewers. Those were inspiration for me. So,
Absolutely. No, like
uh,
I said, I think you're on the right track, and I think keep pushing forward. I think this is a good figure, and like I said, is things starting out is always gonna be like a roller coaster, right? There will be highs, there will be lows, right? So, but at the end of the day, one has to just keep the focus and keep marching towards the target. Well, thank
yes,
you
sir.
everyone for your time today. Thank you, Matthew, for inviting me. Lovely channel you got here, and keep the hard work.
I really
And
appreciate
and thank you everyone for all your support. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
you so much,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. AJ, so much. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Take care, everybody.